Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I'm your host, Veteran Mountain Man, and it's another Regulatory Tuesday. Well, Senator Warren has finished her press conference, and surprise, surprise, her idea for ending all of the corruption in Washington is creating an anti-corruption agency full of federal officials that are as powerful as the senators and the president and all of the elected officials combined, so that they can go through and remove corruption. This brought to you by the same woman who has just recently talked about nationalizing many of the large American corporations, which are privately owned organizations. And she was applauding herself for not taking super PAC money and big spending donations, and was talking about how we need to get lobbying and campaign financing under control. Well, it's not a huge surprise that we're hearing this campaign financing spiel out of the Democrats right now, because the DNC is broke. We know this because last year they filed their tax information and they have no money. None. Obama bankrupted them. And Hillary Clinton barely kept them afloat using some of her campaign contributions. So the DNC as a national party is dying because of this. And so it's not a surprise that they are pushing this new concept of we need no non-individual citizen contributions to politics. Because right now, especially with many of them pushing the socialist spectrum, you're not going to get a lot of businesses saying, yeah, I'll give you money so that you can take my business away from me. Because, people aren't that foolish. Not for the most part. I'm pretty sure George Soros is going to keep funding communists like Senator Warren here and Bernie Sanders and many of the others. But there's just something off about Soros that I can't quite put my finger on beyond all the craziness that's gone on. Now, one of the things she was talking about very heavily is fixing the Swiss cheese definition of a lobbyist and requiring anyone who tries to influence the government while being paid to do that to register. That's right, she's pushing another registration. So once again, this is a big government concept she is pushing. It's going to cost us hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. And the likelihood of this actually fixing anything is very, very small. Now, one of the things she's talking about doing is padlocking the revolving door between big business and government. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I prefer it if my senators and House of Representatives aren't 20, 30 years in the government like Senator Warren is, and Senator Feinstein, and Senator Schumer, and Nancy Pelosi, because I like people who have real-world experience, but apparently Senator Warren thinks that you can only manage the government if you've been in the government. She wants to ban elected and appointed officials from becoming lobbyists after they leave office, not for 1 year, not for 2 years, but for the rest of their lives. Now, this whole concept doesn't make sense. You're effectively saying because you were part of the government, you can't try to influence the government. It's basically taking away people's rights. And, of course, another big change she's talking about is stop self-dealing by public officials. And this one I can kind of understand, where she wants to stop laws that benefit congressmen, that give them separate laws that they live by instead of the population. Now, this I kind of support, but I support it from a different aspect. I support it from the idea that Congress shall not pass a law that they themselves are exempt from. So if they're going to pass something like the Obamacare Act, the Affordable Health Care Act, then they have to be subject to it and not exempt from it like they were. And Senator Warren voted for the Affordable Care Act, which exempted senators and House of Representative members from it, yet forced all of us onto it. Of course, she also goes on to the fact that the president should not be able to own private companies or things of that nature. Well, obviously, Senator Warren hasn't been paying attention because President Washington owned a plantation and fishery. And once he retired from being the president, he returned to that lifestyle. Same with many of the other presidents of the United States prior to about, President Nixon. Prior to President Nixon, a lot of your public officials would go back to their life after having served. Now, this is not true in all cases because, some of them did die in office or shortly after, or they went into permanent retirement after leaving office. But for those that didn't, a lot of them went back to normal lifestyles up until very recently. About the 1960s is when that started changing. And so I would like to see no more retirement benefits for politicians. And I think that would fix a lot of this. Well, I'm going to go ahead and sit down and deparse some of this crazy proposal that Senator Warren has put together. And I might even include some video skits in tonight's live stream. But I want you all to come back and take a look at what Senator Warren's looking at. And I'm going to include her Twitter feed in the link down below. And yes, I do follow her Twitter feed. I also follow I follow Nancy Pelosi, I follow Senator Feinstein, I follow Senator Schumer, Senator Leahy, Senator Merkley. I follow a lot of senators and a lot of House of Representative members. And the reason I follow them is so that I can see what they're proposing. And so when they come up with something that's utter crud, I can actually speak out against it as well. Well, thank you all again for joining me. Please don't forget to like and subscribe or to join me on some of my alternative social media sites, which are all linked in the description down below. And as always, have yourself a great day.